Welcome to Building Bulletproof Backs, where we redefine the mainstream medical approach to healing stubborn back pain. Join physiotherapist and movement addict Marian McRae on a mission to end the back pain epidemic. Building bulletproof backs requires mental, physical, and emotional strategy. Hope is not enough. Listen now as she interviews real-life back pain sufferers who have found a way out of the nightmare and introduces you to leading-edge teachers with powerful tools that can change your life. You can do this. Your body knows how to heal. You just gotta learn how to get out of its way. Now, let's get into today's episode.
And welcome to episode 6. I have joining me today Daniela Casotti. Daniela is got a really interesting story, knows so much, has explored her particular pain journey from 100 different directions, and we always have some great chats and share some deep philosophies. And so I'm really looking forward to just getting our daily chats recorded. Daniela, welcome.
Thank you.
How would you like to introduce yourself to the listeners?
Okay. Well, I'm Daniella, and how do I introduce myself when I've spent most of my life outside the box? Let's see. Occupation, staying centered. Family status, connected and counting my blessings. Hobbies, creating and learning. Maybe I'll elaborate on why I've spent my life living outside the box. I've had epilepsy for about 42 years, and when I actually first got it, I was a state athlete, and it kind of was a really interesting experience because I went from being super alert and in the flow to lethargic and dull within the space of about a month, mainly because neurologists dosed me up on drugs. But I was really one of the lucky ones, I think, because although I didn't know it back then, I was introduced to choice at a very young age. I know what it feels like to be super healthy, lean and active, and I know what it feels like to be unhealthy, in pain, and frail.
And that's pretty unique, hey? That's a very broad dichotomy of health you've experienced. You've experienced peak health and perhaps less than peak health.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know which one I prefer.
Yeah, I think I know which one I prefer as well.
Yeah, it's been a really long battle with establishment, but things started to momentarily turn around, when I studied yogic science in India back in the 90s. It allowed me to gain access into inner workings, which helped to strengthen not only my physical body, because that's, mainly what the doctors were focusing in on when I got my diagnosis, I guess. But being able to understand that we're more than just the physical body, we've got an energy body and an emotional body and a mental body. That was truly my saving grace because the worst was yet to come.
Yeah. And I love that you say all those things because I don't think that's a widely held belief structure, but it does make working with you so much easier because you're open to all of those ideas. So can we talk about how the epilepsy intertwined with the back pain?
That's an interesting one. The real pain started about 7 years ago, shortly after I received treatment for breast cancer. The treatment made the epilepsy worse. It also weakened my bones. So not only was I having more seizures, when I fell into that unconscious state, I was also breaking bones. So during one of these episodes, I actually fell down 3 flights of stairs and broke both of my heels and fractured 3 vertebrae around the middle of my spine. And that's when I really got to know pain intimately. After that incident, I went from spinal compression fracture to bulging discs to frozen shoulders and back again, off the scale pain. And it's also when I realised I was stuck in a negative medical loop. I have epilepsy and have been predisposed to breast cancer. It turns out that epilepsy medication can cause breast cancer, and breast cancer medication makes epilepsy worse. And
that's so challenging but it is how our body works. When what you want to do for one part, it works for that part, but it kind of causes complications for other parts. It becomes a really challenging circle, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's so incredibly challenging because also there is so much history medically that doctors sort of get a bit confused as well, because they themselves don't know how one thing's going to affect the other thing.
Yeah, because we long ago divided the body into bits, and we said that the epilepsy is perhaps a neurologist, and that the compression fractures in your spine are an orthopedic surgeon, and perhaps your mental state as you journey through all of those big demands is a psychologist. So this division of the body, whilst I think it makes people easier to manage, it also sells the message that somehow we're divided, that you can divide us, but we can't. It's also interrelated.
Yeah, definitely.
So how, when you particularly had your compression fractures and disc bulges, what was the advice that was given to you then?
Oh, well, surgery, opiates, more surgery, more medication for epilepsy. That's the kind of, don't get me wrong, because I think that the medical industry is amazing, but there is just some things when you do get into that negative loop that, it's then your turn to take responsibility and step out and go, whoa, I've got a very unusual situation here. I can't actually rely on anybody else to help me with this whole picture. What can I do?
100%. That nails it, doesn't it? Because no GP with a 15-minute consult and someone like you walks in, oh my goodness, how are they going to navigate all of that in such a short period of time? So, I applaud you for taking that approach. And so when you did, where did your path take you?
Well, I started off with the yogic science approach. And because that.
And what do you mean by that? Can you elaborate on that?
Well, yogic science says that the living human being is made up of 5 bodies, not just the physical body. So other than the physical body, we have an energy body with an intricate anatomy, an emotional body, a thinking body, an intuitive body, and a spiritual body that connects us all. Western science says it a little bit differently now. It says that we are 99.9% empty space, and only 0.1% of us is actually matter. Think about that. That 99.9% of you is empty space, and only 0.1% of you is this flesh and blood stuff. That blows me away. In the full height of my pain, nothing about me felt spacious.
Wow. Yeah. And it's logical that our sensory perception, the things we can perceive, through touch, taste, and sight, are things we touch and feel we believe in. But things that we can't see or perceive, it's very hard for our brains to wrap their heads around that. But that doesn't mean they don't exist.
Absolutely. And for somebody who is in absolute chronic pain without any kind of notion of how the hell am I going to get through this, I just went, well, wow, what if only 0.1% of me was hijacking my full human experience? What if only a teeny weeny bit of me is actually hurting? And I started to wonder what the rest of me was doing. After that realization, my life became a full-blown experiment. I had 0.1% of me to lose and 99.9% of me to gain.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, so I just started to, my life became about reconnecting with that 99.9% of me that wasn't hurting.
And so tell us practically, how do you do that? How do you do that?
Well,
I love the idea, I love the concept, but I can see people and I can see my patients' faces going, yeah, right, but how? But how do I do that?
yeah, and so that in itself is a recipe for disaster. So let's just go, okay, just perceive this, just think about it, think of it as a possibility, just sort of ride along in the space of these ideas for a second. But you're right, we do need to have a practical approach because, when every single living moment of my day was painful, if somebody was to say to me, well, think positively, I think I probably would have just, I don't know, taken that last inch of energy I had and beaten the living lights out of them. It changes you. The pain changes you.
Yeah, and I think the worst thing you can say to someone is see the bright side
Oh,
when they're
God,
in
yeah.
pain. I think it dehumanizes what they're experiencing, and I think it's shallow, and I think it is an insult. And
Totally.
so it's beyond thinking positive. There's got to be strategies and tools that we can equip people with that help them see or perceive, as you've used that word, and I like that word, perceive the pain in a different way.
Yeah. That was the starting. No, the starting point was, am I willing to do this? Am I actually willing to take responsibility for this? And that means from every perspective. That means from doctors calling me idiots to me just in total absolute pain constantly. So once I actually made that decision, then I sort of started with my logic, with being logical. So this is the 0.1% of me that is in pain. It wasn't going to let go of the reins without a fight. So I had to engage my energy body, my emotional body, and my mental faculties. So thank God for yoga, because that's really where I the practicality, the tools of yoga were the things that I actually used. But on top of that, I kind of went back to basics and asked myself, what exactly is this 0.1% of me made up of? What does it do and how does it do it? So this 0.1% of us, which is our physical body, is comprised of a community of 50 trillion cells that have the capacity to regenerate. Really, they have the capacity to regenerate. So, and I was reading through science document after science document, reading it has the capacity to generate. So this tiny part of me, I was going, why don't I just grow a new body?
I love it. I love it. And you are the lady that taught me about, is Joseph Villoldo? Is that his name? Have I got it right?
No. He's an amazing guy, Alberto Villoldo.
Alberto, that's the guy. Grow a New Body. Fabulous
Yeah.
book. And well worth a read. And it is so true, isn't it? Because if you think about every time you cut your skin, what happens? The cells, they divide, they regrow, they connect. Sure, you get a scar, but you actually get healing, and that happens in a fairly rapid time. So the concept that can't happen with tissues in our spine is we've kind of forgotten that, I think.
Well, yeah, absolutely. We are growing a new body all the time. Every 8 to 10 months, cells in our body are replaced every 8 to 10 months. The question isn't whether we can grow a new body. The question is, can we actually grow a new body when the body that we have doesn't work anymore?
Yeah. Well, I see it like a tree that, the old bonsai tree analogy, where you can train limbs to grow in certain directions if the stimulus applied encourages them in the direction where you want them to go. And certainly in a body, the stimulus comes from the eyes, the ears, and the feet. And if you can have sensory inputs from those three, and the skin, so those four big ones, and you stimulate that whole input in a new way, it's got to be a new way to what has led you to be where you are now, then I definitely potentially think the body can respond in new ways and grow in new directions.
Definitely. I explored that I have been exploring that for the last 5 years.
Wow. And what have you found in those explorations that you most want to share?
Gosh. Wow. There is so much. And, there's so much. I think the biggest thing for me is how perceiving things can actually help you to move forwards, because perception just shows you. I mean, it's been well documented that 90% of the thoughts we think today are the same as yesterday's thoughts.
Yeah. And our perception is our reality. So if we think a certain way, we feel a certain way, and we become emotionally addicted to those feelings. And, the thoughts are addictive, the emotions are addictive, and it kind of defines who we are. So to shift out of something that you don't want to be in, you really have to start with that perception, don't you? And change that thinking.
Absolutely. Neuroscience says that nerve cells that fire together, wire together, we all know that. But how does that actually translate into practical everyday stuff? And that is,
I was hoping you could tell me.
Well, from what I discovered, the best person who describes it is this guy called Joe Dispenza, and he says thinking. I'll just see if I can find that quote. Thinking the same way, making the same choices, demonstrating the same actions, creating the same experiences that use the same network of neurons will basically create more of the same.
Yeah. And if you want something to shift, you've got to shift something, don't you? It is classic, Joe. Joe Dispenza, I think Joe Dispenza is a leading edge. I hate the fact he's a chiropractor, but I have to let that go. It really is bridging quantum field mechanics in a practical, strategic way with health. And he's also doing the research. And what he's demonstrating on the neurology in the brain scans and the energy in the brain with some of his meditations is quite phenomenal. And I think he is fully aware that, a lot of people are watching, and a lot of people need science and need validation and need numbers. And what I love about Joe is that he's giving it to them, and he's demonstrating time and time again the effectiveness of his strategies. And, it takes the person, doesn't it? It takes the person to do the work.
Well, he had to, didn't he? I mean, he broke his spine. He broke his spine in 6 places, and he was, facing the rest of his life in a wheelchair. And he went, not under my watch. I've studied too much. I know too much about science, and this needs to stop right now. And so he he took it from concept to reality. And but I do want to say one thing here, because he said basically create more of the same. So that word create pops up again. So he's not saying that it's just going to stay the same. It is creating the same thing over and over again. It's still creating. I'm still growing a new body, but the body that I'm growing is demonstrating the same pain, bound behavior, the same old body. It's growing the same old body. Yeah. So, basically, we've got 50 trillion cells to work with, and we've got a mind that can govern those 50 trillion cells.
Beautiful.
And we need to figure out how to rewire our brain. But in order to do that, we need to get past all of the unconscious programs of our behaviors, automatic habits, redundant emotional reactions, hardwired beliefs and attitudes that stand in the way of our body responding to new instructions.
Definitely, we do. And personally, I would feel the best tool to overcome, or to be able to step back and see what some of those unconscious programs are, is meditation.
Yes.
Have you got any other, is that personally how you've been able to start to become aware of those unconscious thoughts and behaviors that govern how we live our lives?
Yeah, meditation is a big part of my day. I would meditate. I think I probably meditate about 2 hours a day at least.
When you meditate, I've had this discussion a few times recently, so I'm going to throw it in. Do you have an intention? And if so, what is it?
It's meditation is a huge, huge field. It really does depend on your intention, because, do you want to meditate to connect with the cosmos, or do you want to meditate to connect with who you are and what's going on at the moment within you? And so everybody has their own reasons for turning to meditation. There is no right way and there is no wrong way.
Beautiful. And I think in terms of back pain, we can use it quite a few different ways, I guess, depending on in the moment how we're feeling. We can use it to detach from the pain, to kind of step back and observe the pain, or we could sort of use it in that next phase, which is intentionally diverting energy into the future and creating the body or the health or the mobility that you're desiring.
Well, the first thing that I did in my meditation was try to connect with the 99.9% of me that was space.
Love it.
That was it.
Yeah.
For hours. It was like, show yourself.
Wow.
I know there's more to you. And
I think Joe has some great techniques on that, doesn't he? He draws the senses outward, which is a spacious sort of inducing an awareness of your body, isn't it? Some of his guided meditations are quite unique in that respect that I've tried it. It's the first sort of experience of this quantum field idea that I've experienced.
Yeah. I mean, he's amazing, totally amazing. For somebody to, I have come across a handful of people who I just think, because you've been through it. Somebody who hasn't been through it can't possibly know that intricateness of it. So, yeah, I would definitely, say if you've had back pain and you're wanting to get into meditation, here's a good starting point, because he's been through it and he's scientifically based.
So perhaps we'd better get to that. Perhaps you could talk me through. Let's first of all talk about this bulletproof back concept. What comes up for you when I say that term?
Just resilience, I think. I think just resilience with the capital R, and authentically being able to bounce back into life after you've been challenged.
Beautiful. I think that's the best one yet, Daniela.
Oh.
So you've nailed that. Let's go to the final question, but you take your time on this. If you think back to, the height of your pain situation when you were connected to the 1%, and that was the dominant experience, what would you wish you had heard from that space from someone who had somehow found a way through, and what would you have wanted to hear? What is your advice?
Well, I think what I was searching for was somebody who had it and got through it and said, "I've done it."
Wow,
yeah.
Perfect.
Because I've had so many diagnoses in my life. I've worked with doctors until I've been blue in the face. And I've also worked with a huge spiritual community as well. And, I'm not saying one's better than the other at all. But I actually needed confirmation from another person who had been through it and could say to me, "Come on, get off your bum and do it. You can do it. You can."
Because it's a huge message of hope, isn't it? When you hear stories of people who have somehow found the tools, and they didn't do it by sitting there hoping. They found tools
or studying,
or what? Sorry,
or studying. They had to. They were put in the deep end, and they had to go, "Jesus, what am I going to do? How do I actually want to live my life? Is this it for the rest of my life?"
But they were open to looking for a solution because they believed there must be a way.
Yeah.
And that's an open mindset, isn't it, versus a fixed mindset, which finds it hard to believe that there is a possible solution or there is a possible way out.
Yeah, believing is important.
So first tip from what I'm hearing is to listen to someone who's done it, I guess, and follow their advice or follow their guidance or educate yourself about the tools that they used.
Yeah, that's definitely a really important one.
What else you got?
Well, what else have I got? Well, I would say choose what you're focusing on wisely.
Beautiful.
Because if you got to know what you want. When you're in pain, the mind automatically switches to drama mode. It jumps around like a crazy thing, and you are not seeing the bigger picture. So to sort of go, this is all there is, when you're in that fight-flight mode, you're doing yourself a great disservice. So be really wise about what you're focusing on, because, you've actually got to change. You've got to reverse the momentum of the pain. You've got to have that amount of willpower and strength. And you've got to, decide. You've got to decide, even when you're not, you've got to decide that you are healed, and you've got to actively seek confirmation for that.
And they're both mental tools, hey? That's all about your mind so far.
Yeah, look, in this world, realistically, when you have been diagnosed with something, and you believe the medical system, and that's all you can, rely on. Ooh, that's hard. There is a world out there that is beyond that.
And it's probably more accessible than ever before with
Absolutely.
internet.
Absolutely.
Yeah. There's great books, there's great teachers, there's so many different avenues you can pursue and research and be knowledgeable. What do you say to someone who hasn't got the time to do all that?
Well,
how can they shortchange it? How can they sort of find a quick, a quick entry into some basic ideas and strategies that are going to help them in the back pain cycle? Have you got maybe some books to recommend?
Look, I think that if you've got back pain, I think that's the second one. You got to keep moving. You got to keep moving, and you've got to move like you're a newborn child. You got to really explore and start to trust yourself, because that's the only way that I was actually able to break the pain loop in my body. I mean, my mind being, that is a different thing altogether. That's me with willpower going, I'm getting through this no matter what. And but then there's that. Okay, well then, what's going to be the tool that I will use? And the tool that I used for the back pain was movement. And I'm talking any movement, even if it's moving your little finger going, okay, my network of neurons is telling my little finger to move there. Where else can I feel that movement? Up my arm, up my elbow. Oh, look at all of that movement that's going on. I can move my shoulder. It then attaches itself with a little bit of pain. Why is that happening? Edge around that shoulder blade a little bit. Hold that movement a little bit. Relax into it and soften and wait for that to release. And have that be your exploration, and do it for hours.
Yeah, and that's kind of a somatic body-based Feldenkrais awareness, hey?
Oh, I missed that. Sorry, say that again.
I've just got a dog about to go nuts. That is, along the lines of somatic movement, where we're sensing and feeling the qualities of the movement from the inside. Yeah, and there's so many. That's becoming such a huge neuroscience-based approach to back pain, where when we tune into different aspects of movement, any aspect other than what hurts,
yes,
we're kind of sending the brain a new message, a new sensory experience, and sometimes in our brain that can become louder than the actual pain input.
I missed that as well. You kind of were
sorry
tuning in.
Okay. I think we'll get to our top 3 tips before my dog destroys the podcast.
Oh, well, we've got the one which was focus wisely. The second one was keep moving no matter what, and explore those movements, and really try and get ahead of the feeling of, if I move this way, I don't feel pain. If I move that way, I don't feel pain. And get used to not feeling pain. Get used to that information coming to you, that there are things you can do that isn't painful. And I think the third one would be just, be grateful, learn to feel love again.
Oh, I love these, Daniella. These are pearls of wisdom right here. I love them.
Well, if you're not loving life, there's not much to live for, is there? So I just,
no.
Yeah.
And if you have to be alive, you may as well choose to be happy alive, hey?
Absolutely. Choice is always there. It really is always there. And yeah.
You are a very wise lady, and I can't help but think perhaps your experience with the epilepsy, with the falls, with the pain has helped cultivate that wisdom in you. Were you this wise before all of this?
Oh, don't talk to my sister. She'll laugh at that question. No, well, yeah, because when you are living outside the box, you've got to find other ways. You've got to figure out, well, how can I? Because I do want to stay connected to people. I kind of like people. I kind of like but here's me having seizures at the drop of a hat, and people aren't going to like me very much if I mean, it's a difficult situation where, how are you going to connect with people when you've got a brain that does things differently?
Mm.
How are you going to stay part of the world when you've got a brain that does things in ways that other people don't know it can do things?
Mm.
And so it was just really about, hey, I just want to hang out with people. I just want to be around people. And how can I do it? Because here I am outside a box. How can I re-enter that box without having to, do it via medical? Look, I'd be a mess if I was to go down the medical route. I would just be a complete and utter mess. And I'm not that kind of person. So yeah, if you were to talk to my dad would probably say, yes, she's always been that stubborn.
Thank God. Thank God for stubbornness. It served you well. You were born stubborn, and there was a reason you were born stubborn, hey?
Yep. In fact, when I was told by my mother that when I was born, my name Daniella she found that in a magazine, and it was about a little girl who was in a car accident, and the whole family died in that accident, and she was the only survivor. And she was so taken aback by the story of this little girl who was the only survivor that she decided to name me that.
Mum.
Thanks, Mum.
What a mother. How fabulous. Maybe she just sensed something intuitively, hey? Maybe her emotional and spiritual bodies were guiding her.
Possibly. Yeah, maybe.
Mm. Oh, look, it's been great chatting to you, my friend. And there's so many pearls of wisdom in that. And you're so articulate in how you express it. And I'm just thrilled that you're in a good place, that you've continued, I guess, to develop all these aspects of your bodies beyond the physical, and that your life experience hopefully just becomes richer and richer for all of those things that you explore and do.
Oh, well, I just want to thank you too, because there aren't a lot of physios that are, willing to believe.
Go outside the box.
Absolutely. And, when I was you've seen me in all levels of pain, and you never, ever questioned that I was healed.
Mm.
And that's just freaking awesome.
Yeah, I think the minute as physios we look at someone as damaged, we almost keep them in it. And if we can look at someone and see their wholeness and see their perfection and see them as healed, as you say, we're holding that for them, and that sends a message to them that it's possible. They're going to get there. It's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of they're one thought away from it, or one feeling away from it, or one strategy away from it. It's certainly something I think everyone's capable of healing, and hopefully it's just we've got to convince people that it's possible, because man, there's so much of the opposite around. If we can be offering hope but also offering strategy. I don't like to say it's possible. I like to actually give people the tools to help them get there, and I think the two matter. But as you say, it can't just be physical. There are these other aspects of our nature that need to be acknowledged and addressed and given tools for. Yeah. And when they align, and sometimes people find them in their own way, which is fabulous. And
best way, the best way.
Actually, it is the best way, because it's unique for them and their journey and what they need to learn and grow from. So, maybe this is a forum where they can start to explore some of these ideas. And as you said, it's so nice to hear from someone who's been in it, because personally I haven't. I've got zero credibility because I haven't been in it. So that's why I need to get people like you on here who have done the work and have explored all these things and can share that. That's just so powerful, I would hope, for people sitting in pain right now.
Well, that makes you even more of a find, because You are coming from this angle of you are this super person that can heal yourself, and you are this person who is healthy and robust and addicted to movement and willing to look at people and how they're moving and see how they can move better and bring them to the state that you are at. So, yeah, you're an absolute gem.
Well, should we end it on that mutual appreciation note?
Lovely, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Daniella. You've been fab. And I look forward to episode 7. I don't know who my next victim will be, but I'm sure they won't be as wise or as entertaining as you.
Oh,
or perhaps
no.
they will be. I shouldn't say that.
I'm sure they will be.
Go and rug up on this crazy weather day.
Yeah, will do.
Okay. Signing off.
Okay.
Look forward to episode 7.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to Building Bulletproof Backs. To learn more about Marion's unique 8-week Building a Bulletproof Back online course, visit the link in the show notes. You will receive a step-by-step system providing mental, physical, and emotional strategies for smashing your back pain to the curb. Ain't nothing like this anywhere else on the market. Become your own hero.